Hi friends, it's Terry Gaines, independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. In this video tutorial, I'm going to share 6 cards I've created with the Lights of Aurora 6x6 Designer Series paper. This paper packet has 6 different designs. They are double-sided. You've got the beautiful designs on one side. On the back side, you have a variety of different colors with the background prints. I'm going to be creating a card with each one of these 6 double-sided designs. I'm going to be using a bundle that is called Lights and Wonder Bundle. It is a stamp set and dies bundle for 10% savings, or you can purchase them separately. I'm going to be using this die. I reference that as the small tree die. I'm going to use this die. I reference that as the large tree die. And then I'm going to use this die, which I reference as the horizon die. I have used the sentiments for some of my card samples. I also am going to use the autumn tree dies, which is also part of a bundle that goes with this stamp set. They're bundled for 10% savings, or you can purchase them separately. I'm just going to be using this die for a couple of the cards. Now, I mentioned I use the stamp set for some of the sentiments on my card samples. I also used the happy birthday, and I got that from the Charming Days stamp set. I want to reference that because I'm afraid I'm going to forget that. Also, on some of my samples, I have these beautiful embellishments. These are the frosted iridescent dots, 4 different colors, 2 different sizes. So I also have used those. So as I mentioned, I have 6 different cards. I'm going to show you how I created these, and there's so many variety or variations you can do with these cards. I am going to give you all the details on how I created them. Now, I did mention there's 6 different designs. I'm going to create a card with each design. So when I designate a design as design 1, I'm going to reference the card that I use that paper for as card 1. To make it easier, I created a project sheet for these 6 cards. So I have a Lights of Aurora cards project sheet. It has first page has a photo of all 6 cards, all the materials and tools I used to create the cards, and they're linked. So if you click on them on the PDF, it'll go to the online store so you can get more detail about those products. This QR code that will be on the project sheet will be right to this video. Also, the click here will go right to this video. And then I do want to note on the first page of my project sheet, I do specify that all of the card bases are basic white, 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored mine at 4 1/4, or you can fold it in half. So all the card bases are going to be basic white. There's 3 additional pages to this PDF, and on each page there's 2 cards, so there's 6 altogether. And this is what I was referencing. I call this print number or design 1. I'm calling this card 1, and then I have the measurements. So I'm going to walk through this first card and assemble it for you, and then I'm going to assemble this card, give you all the details to create it, and walk through the other 5 cards to share how I've created those. There's so many variations, so hope this all makes sense and it works out well. Now, I do also want to let you know the project sheet is free. In return, I would love to have you watch the entire video, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, to like my videos, share my videos. I do have several other video tutorials that you might find interesting, so I would love to have you check those out as well. So let's get back to card 1. So the design, I'm going to use design 1, the front side of it. Now, I am specifying on each one of these whether I'm using the front side of the paper or the back side, because these back sides are going to be great for the additional layers of the cards. So for design 1, the front side, I'm cutting a piece that is 5.5 by 4 1/4. Now, the decision you have to make is, what section are you going to cut? Are you going to do this top part, this bottom part? Are you going to rotate your card, your designer series paper, this way or this way? I honestly don't know what the right direction is, so I just picked the one that I like the best. So I am going to cut mine out of this top corner. So for all of the 6 designs, I put a white dashed box to show you where I cut my 6x6 paper to get that layer. Now you are free to cut it in any section area you want. So I cut it at 4 1/4 first, going across. This gives me this section that I could use for something else. And then I cut it at 5 1/2. So this was just extra paper once I cut that. So that is on all 6 designs. So for card 1, I also need 3 additional layers. So 2 of them are with design 3, the back side. So design 3 is this design, and the back side is, so it's this design, and the back side is this kind of Lost Lagoon color, I would call it. So I also want to let you know, I designated that there's a light color and dark color. So hopefully it shows up in the camera. You've got a darker on this section, lighter on this section. So I've used both sections. So for the light color, so I'm going to turn it this way. For the light color, it's 5 1/2. For the dark color, it's 5 1/2. So I cut it at 5 1/2 first. Then I cut a 2 1/2, or so I cut 5 1/2 from the light corner to here. Then I cut 2 1/2. So I got a 2 1/2 inch section. So I got a 2 1/2 section from that top. And then we have dark color 2 1/8. So then I cut a 2 1/8 from down here. So my extra was my 1/2 inch here, and then this center part is extra to be used for something else. So I hope that makes sense. So now when I put these 2 together, can you see that difference? That's going to be a nice variation. Now you could also use 2-tone cardstock, because you get a dark and a light side to your 2-tone cardstock. And then we have a design 2 back side. So this is design 2 down here. The back side is kind of a black. So I do have a note that you could substitute 2-tone 12 by 12 black cardstock or basic black, the 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock, or you could use Secret C. So you have options. I do want to let you know, whatever you choose it for both of these, this horizon die and the deer die. Now I do also have a note that when you cut this layer, you have extra here. You can use that extra piece here for that piece. And in saying that, you would not have enough for the deer, so you have to cut into another page. So more detail, but I want to share that with you because I feel it makes a difference. I like the tree or the deer and the horizon to be out of the same paper / cardstock. So the horizon one is 1 inch by 5 1/2. And the deer one is pretty small. Did I already lose that one? It is 2 by 1 1/2. Now, the reason I tell you out of the same, this is not the same and there's a slight difference. I just think it looks better if it's the same. So let's cut those pieces out and let's bring in the die cutting platform. We'll move this out of the way. And my platform is all set up. I have platform 1, platform 2, I'm die cutting. Then I put a platform 3 down. So when I put this down, for example, for the trees that are the light trees, what I'm going to do when I take this die, and I'm going to bring this back in because I want to explain this so this all makes sense to you. I also included what I'm die cutting. Whoops, I'm not looking at the right one. Let's go to design 1. Here we go. I'm cutting, both of those are the small tree die. So they're both going to be cut out of this one. They're going to be layered and staggered. The trees are going to be staggered. So in saying that, I'm going to pick the lightest color towards the top. I'm going to put this die down. And this first one, when I run it through, I'm going to put, if I turn it this way, it might be easier. We can talk left and right. So if I put it this way, I'm putting the die close to the edge on the left side. I'm going to have the die close to the top. I'm going to have that as close to the top as I can and fairly close to that edge. I'm going to hold it down with a Post-it note. I like to use these transparent Post-it notes I got at the Dollar Tree. it cut into a few pages, so then I can just grab a section and pull it and get a tab. And then I just have sticky part on that end. I do want to let you know, when you work with certain Post-it notes, they could leave a tackiness on your paper. So when you put them down, put it on the side of the die that it's the throwaway side, not the design side. So I put it up on that side, and then you would put your plate 3 on top of that, run it through the die cutting machine, and it's going to cut this out just like a cooking show. It cuts it out, that's the throwaway part, and then you have the light trees cut out. Now, when I bring in the dark piece of paper, I'm going to put the darkest side on the top. And now when I put this die down, I'm going to have it towards the, I'm going to move it all to the left and have this towards the die towards the edge of the right side. Use my Post-it note, hold it down, put my plate on here, run it through. Then I get my trees die cut, and this is the throwaway side. Then my trees are staggered. They're staggered. They're not right on top of each other, meaning, you know, if I put them in the same location, they're going to be right like that. I want them off a little bit. So hopefully that makes sense. I want to give you all the details. So all my learning lessons, how about that? All my learning lessons on when I created this. So for the horizon piece, we have a fairly small piece. And the thing about the horizon piece is if you put it down this direction and this orientation, the center goes down, which is okay for some designs. But for this design, I want the center to go up. So I'm going to rotate it so the higher part is in the center, and it goes down like so. Use the Post-it note to hold that down, put the plate on top of it, and run that through, and I will have that cut out so it has that horizon, or it valleys, or the top is in the center. Oh goodness, struggling to find the right words for that. All right, so that's what I would do for that one. And then I did note, I believe, the size for the deer. I cut it fairly small. This can be out of your scrap bin, but as I mentioned, have the two being the same. So what I do for the deer die is I just make sure I'm cutting out the 2 deer. I don't need the rest of the die image, and I put the top fairly close to the edge. You can use your Post-it note, hold it down, run it through, and you're going to get just that portion of the deer cut out. So it has part of the cattail, part of the grass. I just want the deer. So I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to cut those off. We don't need those. If you wanted those, you could leave them on. I just feel for the landscape, static. I don't know what I did there, but cut that off. We just want the 2 deer. All right. So I'm going to move this out of the picture. So we have our card base, we have our designer series paper layer, I'm going to move this out of the way, we have all of our layers. I'm going to show you how I put these together. So I'm going to make room here for my Simply Scoring tool. I'm going to use the corner of this. I like the wall in the corner, that's going to help me with alignment. So I'm going to first start out by putting this layer on. So I'm hoping that I've cut this all to be equal, and if it's not, we can take it to the cutter and trimmer, you can cut it. So this is going to fit right on my whole card base. So what I'm going to do is open up my card base, push it in the corner so it's up against both walls. I'm going to take my silicone craft mat, turn this upside down, and put my adhesive on the back side of my paper. And then I'm going to, now this is the top of my design. This is the bottom, this is the bottom, this is the bottom. I'm going to push this in the corner. Then I'm going to put this up against that wall, this up against that wall, without putting the adhesive down yet. I'm going to push that up against the wall, holding the card base so it doesn't slide, and that's going to help me get that nice and squared up and adhered. Now I'm going to do the same for these layers. You start with the back one and put that one on first. So I'm going to take this one. Now you have to make a decision. Are you wanting to put adhesive behind the trees, or are you okay letting those just free flow and not be adhered? I'm going to leave them unadhered. I'm just putting my adhesive on the bottom portion, and that's just going to be left unadhered, and it'll be fine. I'm going to put this up against this wall, this up against this wall without putting the adhesive down yet, and hold this card base in the corner. If you let go of it, it will shift away from the wall. That's going to allow me to get flush on the bottom, flush there, and it should match up if I cut everything the same. I'm going to do the same for the next layer. So now we have the dark trees. This measurement was slightly smaller, so they're not as tall as the previous ones. And then we shifted the die cutting, so they should be staggered a little bit. Push this up. As I mentioned before, you got to hold on to that card base, otherwise it moves away from the wall and you're not going to get that. So I've got that so far. Now here's the thing that we want to do first. I want to attach the deer to this horizon piece first. Now it depends upon how far down you want to put the deer as to these ends. So I have these ends on the side of the deer's feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip those straight down. I'm going to cut those off. That way, if I put my adhesive on this little strip, I can do that with using my Stampin' Seal and my silicone craft mat. Then I can hold up the horizon, and hopefully this is going to show on the camera. I can put this until I don't see that cardstock, and I'm good with how that's attached. I am going to put a mini glue dot behind both of those deer. I just don't want, they're pretty fragile. The trees are fragile too, but I'm okay not having those attached. But I am going to grab a mini glue dot and 2 mini glue dots, one behind each of those deer, just to keep them secured a little bit. And whoops, it stuck to my finger. There we go. They're really strong. I love them. Going to work great for your projects. Now this is a smaller piece, maybe harder to work with. Holding this up against the wall, push that up, get that to be attached, and then push the deer down and attach those. And that is my first card. So everything, if you cut them all equal, they're flush here. If they're not, take it to your paper trimmer and you can cut that. I do want to note, if you're using designer series paper and or two-tone cardstock, it's going to be easier to cut. If you're using all regular cardstock, you're going to have a little bit thicker layering, but you can still trim that up. So that is card 1. So I hope you like that. Now I mentioned I'm going to give you more details about the rest of the cards. I'm not going to assemble each one, but I'm just going to give you any tips that I have. So that was card 1. Card 2, you can see by the diagram, I cut this layer. I cut this layer from this corner of the paper. Then I cut these trees from the back side of design 4, and this is design 4. So I cut that from the back side. Now this could be a two-tone cardstock, as I mentioned, so that would be cut with the large tree die. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but I think it will all kind of make sense. So I can see how I cut that one out. A lot of the die hangs over, and then that will be layered. And then the next layer is the back side of design 2, or two-tone or basic black cardstock, and that is with the small tree dies. So I cut that out. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, so that hopefully all makes sense. Before my embossing, I did do embossing. I used Versamark ink. sprinkled my white embossing powder over it, tapped off the excess, and used my heat gun to put these sentiments on card number 2. Card number 3, I did a little bit different. I do want to share more details about that. So I cut it out of the design out of design 3 and that corner on how I rotated it, but it could be rotated this way. That's a personal decision. Now for design 6, the back this is design 6. I used the back side. Now I had it longer. Oh, I hope this is okay sharing this. So 5.5 by 4.25. I cut it out, then I cut it into 2 sections. So let's put the card base down. What I did was I took this, cut off this excess that didn't quite get cut off, and then I cut the trees. I cut it into 2 sections, and you just decide how you want to separate these 2 trees. These trees right down here. I cut this like so, and I put one section here, and then I put the other section here, and that just filled in the grove of trees. Now I'm using the back side. I do want to let you know I have a notation there that you may substitute Gorgeous Grape cardstock, and that's what I did for my sample here. I use Gorgeous Grape cardstock instead of the back side. Either are going to work. And then the next layer, I used design 5, the back side, and I cut the larger trees out. It's a smaller piece because that's going to go here, and it just creates a different grove of trees. Then what I did was I have the design 2 backside. This is also where you could substitute for the black two-tone or black cardstock and cut your trees out of that, and that is going to be how I got card number 3. All right, I'm not gonna, as I mentioned, I wasn't going to create all 6 cards. I'm just giving you the details I feel that are going to be helpful for you. So where are we here? We're at design 4. I cut it out of that section of the paper. So this is my card 4. I cut it out of that section. And then I have, you can use Gorgeous Grape, and that's what I've got cut here. You can use the back side of 6, or you can use Gorgeous Grape. And then you have the back side of design 2, or you can use Basic Black. And then you have the back side of design 5, and that's for the horizon. So for the sentiment, I did cut that out of the back side of design 6, stamped it with Memento ink, and then I just used my scissors. And if you follow it, if you're right-handed, you can follow, and I pretty much hold the scissors in one location and then just rotate it. But if you view the side of the scissors and you can get the pretty close to the same spacing. So that's fussy cut to put that on, and I use the Memento ink to add that. I failed to tell you, I do have another sample. I use some of those embellishments there. So that is design 4. So for design 5, I hope this is helpful, but I just want to give you as details so you can do this. So design 5, I think that will be an easy one because there's only 2 layers. We have our design 5. I cut it from that section of the paper right in the corner. And then I used the back side of design 2, or you can substitute that for the Basic Black two-tone, Basic Black regular. You can go Secret Sky. You have options for that. And then I embossed the sentiment is embossed with white embossing powder, and then add some embellishments. So that was a simple card design. And then the last one is this one. And this one is card 6. I cut it out of that section of the paper. I used the back side of design 1, have the measurements, that's to cut with the small trees. Then I have 3 done with the horizon. I gave you all the measurements for those. You can cut those, and when you cut out the horizon, you're just moving that die in different ways to get a different rolling hill type. And then I've cut the deer out and I attached them over on the side. And I adhered all of the cards the same way as I showed you how I adhered this card. I just used my Simply Scoring tool as a guide to help me align. And then I was able to get all of those created that way. I know I did not do all the step-by-step, so I just kind of gave you some walkthrough on how I did some of these. I hope this video was helpful. As I mentioned, this is a free PDF that you can download. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. And I would, as I mentioned, I would love to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel and reach out if you have any questions. Take care and happy creating.